page Kuf Zion, and we'll be able to really, so to speak, get into it. de-hinay is boile yilperik the Zion and Peich of Zion. It was explained earlier. The shoroshi ho'oiris him gamkim yichodim b'ha'etz. That the roots of the oiros, in other words, the oiros pnimim, such as chochma, bina, das, and chesed, gvurah, tiferes, are also miyuchad b'ha'etzem, are also united with the essence. Not only makif, because we just finished talking about makif, but actually shoroshi ha'oiris is also miyuchad b'ha'etzem. Shezehu yinyan shmi hamiyuchad bi, which is a principle that expressed in the meaning from shmi, my name. Shmi, the name is always inferring that which is recognized externally, and which is meant to be for correlate to the outside. But this me is miyuchad bi, is united with me. This is not a disconnected oir. Rather, it is an oir that's miyuchad, is united with me, with Atzma. V'hein, and thus they are, the oiris are min hakonov, of the type of the konov of the garment edge itself. This is an allusion to the inyan that in mitzvah tzitzis. The tzitzis have to be hanging on the garment, but the strings which are taken from outside and attached to the garment, they have to be min hakonov, of the same material as the garment itself, because they have to correlate perfectly. So the oiros are also miyuchad b'te'atzem. These oiros, we're talking about oiros pnimiyim, oiros that ultimately end up in world and end up in kelim, which we already discussed, and we'll discuss some more. Yet still, even though it is connected, united with them, as is expressed, as is manifest in the requirement, that the tzitzis, it's not enough that you attach the tzitzis to the garment. They have to be of the same material as the garment. Why? Because that's the only way that they're not just attached, but unite. They feel comfortable, so to speak. An elusive expression. Wool feels comfortable with wool. So even so, Mikomo yet still.
And wool and linen is not.
Wool altogether we don't connect. Mikomo can still hari ha'oir hazeh, this oir, which means the oir of the pnimi, that ultimately ends up in world and ends up in kelim. Who it is masheshir oirin soif lahoires oiros. This is the oirin soif itself. Even from within oirin soif, it is already projected lahoires oiros to give life and to give us a sense of the divine reality to world. And we already discussed, and we shall discuss more, you have to eventually recognize in the inference by the word oilam is world versus oir atzmi. World is a completely different realm, a totally different principle than Oyer Eliki. We should know very, very, very well, because we are actually in the world. In world, you do many things not because this is suitable for the situation, this is the right thing, but because otherwise the whole thing is going to fall apart. And in Oyer Soif, which is Oyer Eliki, which has no vulnerability, if I can express it that way, no precariousness, it is reality itself. And in that reality there is an Oyer that was projected for the world. Vezehu, and that is the principle that explains the principle sheho'er yesh be'eshes sphirot. That this Oyer actually has 10 spheres. And we already discussed the principle of 10 spheres. Precisely 10, because the Oyer is Ein Sof. Why is it 10 spheres? 10 spheres represents the method of relating, of bringing it out to the world. Meshum, the reason that in the Oyer there is as spheres, due to the fact the klal is Oyer who, that this Oyer overall, now what's in principle, what brings it to be? What is its defining element? The Hoyer as Hoylam. It is to illuminate the worlds. That is what this world, this Oyer is all about. That's what this Oyer represents. This is what the definition of this Oyer is. If not for the world, these beginnings of that are contained in the world, in Oyer, are totally inapplicable. They don't have a basis for existence, if not for world. As it says in the Zohar, so it says in Zohar, that he, Atzmus, is called Chochem. B'chol mine Chochmis. Chochem means with every kind of Chochmah that has been created, that exists. V'choishiv shom, and then in that Zohar, it lists Kol Ho'eshes Sphirot. Not only Chochmah, but all the Sphirot. He himself, in other words, all the Sphirot are contained within him, starting from Chochmah and so forth. Elo, except Koidem de Boro Almo, before that he created the world, Iskirihu, he is referred to and is called B'chol Inun Dargin. He is referred to by all these madregas. He's alluded to by all. You say Chacham, you refer to him. You say Maven, you refer to him. He is called by all of these dargis. Why? Not because of himself. Al Shem Borion. By alluding to their being created. The Avasidul bodies that are to be created. Because they contain, he is due to create them, intends to create them. By this intent, he acquires those references and those qualities that are part of the creation. Dielav Borium the Alma, for if not for the creation of the world, Amai Yishkiri Rachum, why is he called Rachum? Rachum means he's a merciful. Merciful means that there is something to have mercy upon, which is the world. If not for the fact that he created the world, why does the term Rachum apply to him? And just like Rachum, similarly for all other qualities, all of these qualities are applied to him due to the fact that he is due to create them. However, what we're saying is that even before their creation, because he's due to create them, because he already projected to create them, he already gets that title. Hainu, which means to say, Shekol ho'eses spheres hein l'tzerech ha'ilams, that all 10 spheres, all of the 10 spheres, are l'tzerech ha'ilams, are for the need and for the sake of world. U'k'moi, as for example, b'chinas ha-malchus, the malchus aspect. Harei inin hamlucho shayach kisheyesh am dafka. We know that the whole principle of hamlucho is shayach, is applicable only kisheyesh am, only when there is a nation. U'kemaymer, as the saying is, ein melech b'lo yam. There is no melech, there is no such concept of melech, b'lo without a nation. V'si b'azhorot and the hizabos oilamois. In fact, the whole cause for the will, for the intent of creating worlds, who is mipleisho the bitzoyne ano emloich. It is because earlier than that, the Rotzain by him, his personal Rotzain, had identified the union ano emloich. I shall, over here. It's on page Kuf Ches. If it's not on page, if you're on Ches, you will not find it there.
Page take 669.
Okay, it's about 8 lines from the top, and the line begins with the word harotz. Because all of birtzoyne ano emlich, I shall be melech. Ve'ei melech b'lo yam. This in Rotzen to be melech preceded the presence of the Am and the world. This is a totally an essential Rotzel coming from his own truth. Ano emlich. Not because there is a nation upon which to rule, or there is a world that needs that effect. Ano emlich, this arose in his will way before. As a matter of fact, everything that is served by this malchus came to be afterwards, because there is the ano melech and the emlich. Therefore, to complement and to give a full significance to Ano Emlich, there was a whole world created. A melablayam about Cain, and for this reason, all of Yitzoyno Yisborich Li Yisraelis. This is why there arose in his will that there should be worlds. Because there was already the Rotzein Ano Emloich that brought about the Rotzein that there should be world. What happened? There's no video connection?
Oh, but no people.
No people? Oh, here they are.
There's a video connection.
We were missing you.
Oh, there's no link.
That's what I have come. I wanted them to come in person.
Some kind of.
Yeah, it's Sunday. It's their day.
He says Ana Emlach, and you're looking to you.
So contrary to the worldly view, the worldly logic, you would think that first there is a world, there's a need, and then there comes the Melech. The divine view is the opposite. First there is Inyan malchus, which is a personal and essential Inyan in the Melech, in the Melech and in the Lakus. And because there is essential in the Melech, Ano Emlich, he wanted that this malchus should come forth, should be revealed. In order that this malchus should be revealed, it needs a complement of malchus, which is world. Because to have a completing of malchus, there has to be the arm upon which that are served by this malchus. So we'll just go through this section for a while, and then we'll go back and discuss it a little bit. But that which we say in davening every day, the master of the world, who had reigned before that all creatures were created. We just saying that malchus first surfaces is in full-fledged only when there is who to be a melech on. And he will say Moloch, he was a king before everything was created. So what did the creations for? He can be melech without the creations. We say melech b'layam.
Did you say that it's the melech serves the people?
Yeah.
But looks like it goes both ways, no?
I said, we'll give me a chance.
I also wanted to ask that. Don't worry.
It's obvious that we are preparing for something dramatic over here. The Rebbe himself points out, we say every day in davening, he was a melech before everything was created. And at the same time, in the same breath, we say, Ein melech b'layam. There is no melech b'tara now. So the Rebbe explains, this inyan amola b'terem kol etzu nivro. Hainu b'chinas hamelucho. That refers to the inyan melucho. K'mei shehi be'atzmusa yizborch. The inyan hamelucho, as it is within and part of the atzmus itself. Atzmusa yizborch. Shelamayla mebchinas gilui. At this point, this melucha is above bechinas gilui, the whole phenomenon of gilui, of revelation. The concept and the principle of anything pre-existing, its expression, its gilui, and it's taking effect and showing its significance. We have already discussed many times. We find it in many aspects, even in the human being himself. There are many ways that we illustrate this, but in all illustrations on those levels require that we bring forth, so to speak, the essential human intelligence, because world does not substantiate it. This is exclusively human, and between the human itself, it is the finest aspect of his soul. And if we pay attention to be allow this to surface, then we can recognize these things. The most blatant that allows us to delve into it easier than many other things is the principle of the phenomenal suffering that a person has if he's in prison. We just recently discussed this. Why is being in prison so profoundly painful? And again, we are not talking about prison in the third world. We're talking about prison, a modern day prison, and the most considered a prison that only affects Indian, that he is not out in the world, but he lives his own life. Pointed out that from a decency perspective, a person can be in prison and playing tennis, or writing books, or reading, and many prisoners go through a college course in prison.
Oh, wow.
They will do the same thing at home. And yet, if you ask him about prison and home, he says, it's impossible. It's the most profound suffering. And what's so terrible about it? What is behind this principle of suffering in prison? And the question was posed many times, and always get an answer that is kind of a superficial, worldly answer. He cannot go where he wants to go. He cannot go where he so I asked the question: when he's freed from prison, what is the first thing he does? He start running up and down the streets. What is he doing when he gets out of prison? Clearly, this is missing not even focusing on the experience that he is manifesting. In order to understand it, I'm going to take some time because I want to get to this point. In order to understand it, I'm taking another aspect. When we breathe, breath The air, breathing air is an essential for life. The life element that the air gives is that air that enters our lungs and is absorbed by our lungs. The so to speak, the oxygen of the air is absorbed by our lungs. This is what gives power to the bloodstream and so forth. This is what gives us physical life. That air that goes and enters our lungs is the air immediately in front of our nostrils. In other words, conceivably, we can breathe from a little box. As long as the air there is clear, we can breathe and live. Why is the prisoner so pained? He's got much more than a box. He can live freely, fully. And yet we know that this is one of the most painful aspects that a person can be put through. To the extent that the Rebbe said that imprisonment is not an acceptable form of punishment. In Torah, there is no such thing punishment. It's a living death. It's more painful than death itself. What does that allude to? Again, I'm elaborating on the question because I want everyone to try to get to their own seichel, because this is part of our own seichel. What is it? If you think deeply into it, we'll see that what we're missing is not the breathing, is not all the services that we can get, none of the above. In fact, what we're missing is that which is beyond the services, that which has nothing to do with our breathing. It is the open air that has nothing to do with our immediate consumption of air. It is the sense of the infinity of the air, the source of it. Not that which you actually consume, but where it's coming from. I'll come back to this. I want to demonstrate this from a halacha, which we mentioned many times already. The Gemara says that in those days the impoverished people used to go and journey from one village to another village, and in each village they would be provided the meal of that time.
Essenteg.
What?
Essenteg.
No, Essenteg.
That's what you put buffalo.
Right. So they would. If they came lunchtime, they would breakfast time. They would have breakfast. Supper time, they would 2 meals a day. But when the Oni left this town, it was obligatory by the townspeople to supply me with the next meal, even though he just not finished eating. The next meal he will eat in the next meal time, when he will be in the next village. Why are we supplying him in the next meal? So the Gemara says, "Eino doima mi sheyesh pas b'sali, mi she'ein li pas b'sali." One who has bread in his basket, in his satchel, or one who does not have bread in his satchel. That's it. It's in his satchel. He's not going to eat it. By the time he's going to eat it, he's going to be in the next village, and they'll give him his portion. But what is that about? He's not going to eat it. He knows that he's going to get to the next village, and he's going to be given this food. So why doesn't he have to carry the food with him? It's a phenomenal Indian. Please listen to this. We live in a big world. And we live off the world. The wheat we eat grows in the world. The water that we drink is refined in the world. The air that we breathe, we find in the air, in the world. The truth is, we do not live from the world at all. We live from the creator of the world. We don't relate to the world at all in terms of giving us life. The reason we can drink the water is because this water was supplied to us by the creator. This is why we make a bracha before we drink the water. By making a bracha, the world is, you took the water out of the well.
So why do we want to stay in?
And the same is the all other foods, everything. Your question will come after. Let me finish. This is what life is. Life is not physical sustenance. And this is what a human being is. Physical sustenance is good for the cat or the rat. They can live under the ground as long as they can dig through it. A human being, that's not what his life is about. He needs to sense that it's the creator who is supporting him. Something completely outside of the world. And then he comes to the world. This is the phenomenal union. All mitzvahs that the Rebbe gave us connect us to him. Why are the mitzvahs so physical? Put on tzitzis. Food that you can eat, food that you cannot eat. Where are you related to him? That is the only way that you can live in the physical world, is if you recognize that this comes from him. A prisoner, he has everything he needs, but he is confined to the worldly presence around him. He cannot look beyond, outside of the worldly presence. I pointed out, I'd like that we should project and see how accurate this is. The prisoner can sit in his prison cell, even in prison cell. Certainly if he goes out in the courtyard, look up in the sky and sees the infinity of the sky. What's missing? When he is looking at the sky from the prison, he is looking at somebody else's sky. When he's free, he looks at the sky that Rebbe gave to him. What does he get out of the sky? He's just looking at it, seeing the same sky as he's seeing when he is free, when he's in prison. He's looking out into it, but it's not his. It was not given to him. Everything that we experience as human beings, it is important to recognize that this was given to you directly from the Meibash. And this is when you become to live as a human being. This is the pshat, ein melech b'layam. What is the melech? What's malchus provide for the world and for the Am? That which is beyond their immediate need. Where does it all come from? Not what you have. You can choke on what you have. You can suffocate on the air that you have in front of you. You can only breathe the air that is surrounding the entire world. That's the air you can breathe. Because that air belongs to the Creator. It's an Eibusher who's Vayipa be'apav nishmas chayim. The neshama is refreshed every day. Every day is in order for our seichel, but in every instant. This is how we live. This thing that this is how we live is not an allegorical statement. This is in fact how we live. This is what allows us to wake up in the morning and say, I'd like to go and see what's going on. When we open our eyes, we see the world. What are we seeing? Are we seeing the world, or are we seeing the melech of the world? The world belongs to the melech. The whole world is there because there was a rotzen to migalad in malchus. And this is why the world is significant to us. Because the world represents to us the melech. This is why the world is real. Not that which is tangible, which is there present at this moment. But that which originates at every instant. And originates it from a target, from a divine level, not from worldly level. It gets created yesh mi'ayin all the time. This AYIN is of course a divine AYIN. They're not equal, they're not similar. Because he has that sense that there is something outside of the world. He's looking for, when am I going to get where in the world am I going to get the next piece of bread? If you're dependent on world, that's the biggest suffering for a human being. Like a prisoner. He has everything, but he is dependent on human beings. That's not the way the human being lives, the way a human being lives. The human being defines his whereabouts, where he's allowed to go, where he's not allowed to go. It's fine. He got miles where to go. It's not restricted. It's just that he is not outside of human confines, of human defining. That's not what human being is supposed to live. That's not a neshama life. For the goof, it's fine. For the rat, it's okay. For the human being, it's not okay. Because the human being lives on a neshama level. This is what we're learning here right now. Ano emloich. This is the Tzorech HaOlam. This is the Tzorech HaOlam because this is what gives world a sense of reality. Even though the world can be created by uttering and stating everything individually. But it's all coming from the malchus, from the divine malchus. That's a real world. Ein melech b'lo yam. The same is true in the converse. Ein am b'tah melech.